Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And today, I have two very interesting things to share with you guys. One part is about the Ripple v SEC lawsuit. You're seeing it in front of you. James Fillon went into a thread of summary judgment timeline, and it's very interesting. And our second part is a little bit about a gem, just some stuff I really would like to share with you guys, but you'll see it at the middle or somewhere of this video. Having said that, Jeremy Hogan posted this on Twitter. This is a great threat from attorney Fillon, which explains the New York court's process for scheduling summary judgment in the Ripple case. He is preparing us for disappointment, with briefing not finished until later in the year. Either way, we shall have more info by Friday. So what I basically have for you guys today is the schedule, or a little bit more officially, the next few steps in a timeline type of manner. So, James Fillon said it like this: a summary judgment timeline. I'm seeing a lot of discussion of timing projections for the filing of summary judgment motions and a decision on the motions. I thought I would weigh in because Judge Torres has a particular and very complicated process that must be completed before the motions for summary judgment can even be filed. The point of this thread is to help you understand that this is a longer process than you might realize. So straight at the bat here, I'm a little bit disappointed in that. But as Jeremy Hogan just explained, he is preparing us for disappointment, which from a certain perspective is good. Guys, if you just want this lawsuit to be over, make sure you press that like button, because I'm in the exact same scenario. Every single day that this lawsuit is taken on is another little type of feeling I feel somewhere at the bottom of my belly, or at the top of my belly, I should say. Because even though I'm getting the chance to buy this XRP for cheap, at some point, I think it just has to be over, and my luck has to kind of run out where the price just starts to pump, which again is my honest expectation. But it's been a long time coming, and I can't wait for that moment, right? It's been a little bit too long of the laughs about XRP failing and XRP being in a lawsuit and XRP being stupid. I'd like to see it succeed at this point, you know? First, any party that wants to move for summary judgment has to provide the other parties an electronic copy in Microsoft Word format of its statement of material facts pursuant to Local Rule 56.1a. Local Rule 56.1 statement is a short and concise statement in numbered paragraphs of the material facts as to which the moving party contends there is no genuine issue to be tried. A material fact is one that must be resolved to make a decision on the motions. Now, the party moving for summary judgment must, at the same time, provide the other parties any admissible evidence cited in its Rule 56.1, just a specific statement, that has not previously been produced during earlier discovery. They only have to produce evidence that is admissible, so that would not include documents the court previously said the parties did not have to give to the other side. For example, Brad and Chris' personal financial information, or the Esterbrook notes, they both were denied, right? So they weren't usable in the lawsuit, basically. Then, the party opposing the motion for summary judgment has to reproduce each entry in the moving party Rule 56.1 statement, and then write its response directly beneath it. So, as far as we now understand, you have to use all these pieces of evidence, put it all in, right, into your statement, basically. And the other party has to respond to it, as far as I understand from reading this. Again, I am not a lawyer. All I'm trying to do is make sense of the stuff I'm reading. If you have a different interpretation, please utilize the comment section and let others in on it, or just help your brothers out and your sisters and everybody. Help them out. So again, this is just my interpretation. In the moving party Rule 56.1 statement, and then writes its response directly beneath it. After that, the party moving for summary judgment has to email and file on the docket for us to see. Again, the email is just to the judge. File on the docket is going on to the place like Court Listener, where we check for these lawsuit documents and then put it on there. A pre-motion letter to the judge, Judge Torres, explaining to her the basis for its anticipated motion for summary judgment and attaching the opposing party's response to that specific 56.1 statement, which will show whether and which material facts the parties agree on. This is something we covered yesterday. It is basically about whatever transpired and whether or not you agree. Otherwise, the judge has to intervene. And the way I saw one of the lawyers describe it was, let's say you're in a specific lawsuit, right? About you and a person you ran over. What I guess that can't really be. If you ran him over, he might be dead. Talking about, wait, let's say you and another person hit each other in a car. You're saying the light was green. Other guy's saying the light was red. That means you can't agree on the material facts, because you're saying, well, what we found as evidence is that the light was green, and the other party says, no, we conclusively have found that the light was red. Then the jury, at least as far as I understood, the jury has to come in and decide on that type of stuff, right? Well, then the party opposing summary judgment has to email to Judge Torres and file on the doc. But as far as I understand, they just have to kind of put in here every single thing that they agree upon. Then the party opposing summary judgment has to email to Judge Torres and file on the docket a letter explaining why it is opposing the motion. And after that, Judge Torres will review everything and inform the parties whether a motion for a summary judgment is warranted. And if so, set a briefing schedule for filing of the motions. And this briefing schedule is basically then, if she says, yep, it's good, then she's going to say, I want this, that, by this date. So that's going to basically put the order in a schedule, literally. Only then can the motions for summary judgment be filed. Now, the parties are submitting a proposed schedule this Friday, and it's technically possible that the parties will agree to waive the requirements of pre-motion letters and the exchange of Rule 56.1 statements of facts. So once more, to summarize real quick, Rule 56.1 statements of facts is about the discovery, which was one of the earlier phases. There's, again, facts that were observed, and you're basically putting in on what facts that pursued you agree. Now, they also have the right, apparently, which I don't completely understand, but hey, I'm still going to read it out as far as I understand it now from reading this. They still have the right to say, let's skip this, which could be interesting. But this Friday, they're going to come together and describe a proposed schedule for the near future. Ripple's going to do that. SEC is going to do that. They have had one meeting, which it might be now, might be tomorrow, might be yesterday, about this. But we will see shortly if they agree on this schedule or not. If they don't, the judge will put in whatever she thinks is reasonable. And it's technically possible that parties will agree to waive the requirements of a pre-motion letter and the exchange of rule facts. I think, or have to think, that Ripple, Brad, and Chris would want to waive these requirements and will be pushing very hard for a faster schedule. But with the SEC delaying this case at every turn, you really must wonder if the SEC would ever agree to the waiver and make this battle less cumbersome or faster for anyone, even for the judge. If the parties agree to waive the requirements, Judge Torres has to agree to that waiver. On top of all of this, remember that expert discovery has been reopened until May 13th for that specific Mets deposition, which we talked about yesterday. And the filing of the Ripple defendant's supplemental rebuttal report also. I expect that the parties would challenge some of the other parties' experts, although I expect that to be part of the summary judgment process. The amicus briefs also have to be reviewed. The point is that all of this adds to the time it'll take for the judge to make a decision, because those challenges have to be decided. All of this is very complicated and will be slower than we want. I don't want you to be disappointed when the briefing schedule comes out. I don't think we'll see a schedule that contemplates briefing beginning in June. I think that a more realistic timeline for summary judgment motions would be opening briefs in either July or August, and then all briefings completed by either October or November. The issue of the Hinman documents and emails is still being decided, but I think the decision on what would be made while the summary judgment motions are pending, which is why I believe the Ripple defendants have said they are prepared to go forward on summary judgment before that issue is decided, which now makes a lot more sense. What that basically states is those emails, which, again, the SEC is being kind of interesting about, they want to keep it all back. The SEC said, hey, let's just continue on with the lawsuit without giving you the emails because we want to respond, but we want to kind of wait with that response. Ripple's kind of said, you know what, fine, let's just move on without you giving us the emails, and we'll decide on it later. And now it makes a little bit more sense because, again, the SEC is just drawing things out, and they would rather just be like, you know what, just indeed fine. Wait with that, but let's just move on things. And for reference, Judge Torres recently issued a summary judgment ruling in a complicated case involving gender discrimination claims against Goldman Sachs. The briefing in that case was completed last November, and the decision was issued in mid-March of this year, which is kind of scary. Once more, the briefing in that case was completed last November, and he's saying the briefing could complete either October or November, and the decision was issued mid-March. The point is that with a complicated case, it'll continue to take time more than we want end. But yeah, like CryptoBT says, more time to accumulate at a discounted rate, which I agree with. It's taking its sweet time, but indeed, we should see it like this, right? This is happening for the sake of crypto regulation and it being done properly, so we can't complain too much, right? It is the way that it is. And now one thing I want to quickly share with you guys is one thing I find interesting that I'm actually going to be investing into, so I thought I should share it with you guys as well. You already know, I buy tokens whenever I think there's a good potential of them doing really well. And in this case here, guys, I have been getting into those 10 set, which is officially I think it's a launch pad, but they have a couple of different things on their platform. They're launching this new token, which is called Fame MMA. And apparently, you just read the story for yourself, guys. Always do this. Whenever investing into something, do this own due diligence. But I honestly think it's going to do really freaking well. I'm going to be buying into it. The time has finally come to announce the next gem. We are extremely excited to reveal that the next project featuring in the Tencent gem launching platform is Fame MMA. It's the biggest in the world freak fight organization and a premier combat sports organization in Europe that hosts mixed martial art events for celebrities, personalities, top YouTubers, Instagram, TikTok superstars, and famous professional athletes, yada, yada, yada. They've run 13 large events to date, and apparently they have built a massive fan base, millions of followers and whatnot, and they want to get into the crypto space. So they want to apparently tokenize and join the Tencent launch platform, as they believe this technological jump will allow them to take advantage of a rapidly growing sector. And at the end of the day, you can look at all the details of it, which I think you should. But what I look at is it a good time to invest in altcoins? Well, right now, medium. All right, it's not a bad time because we're not dumping like crazy, like we've seen before. It's not a good time because it's not the craziest of pumps, so it's medium. Then is the launch pad, or let's say it like this: what VCs are backing it, right? Well, in this case, it's a little bit more difficult to find out exactly how that works. So you can read into it. Most likely, there's going to be a pitch deck somewhere as well. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to be, but let's say it like this. Who's backing it? And in this case here, what launchpad, right? Tencent has had a couple of gems before, like Meta Hero, I think they had on there. Just check it out for yourself somewhere. They most likely have a list somewhere, and I think the majority of their tokens have gone 50x, 100x, and like 70x or so. Is their fourth now? So I'm honestly expecting just for that reason it to do well. Again, not financial advice, my thoughts, my expectations, and I'm sharing this because I think it's important to do so, because it might be a good opportunity, but it might also fail. Keep that in the back of your head. And then the other parties come with, again, how does the history look like, and does it have any real use case, or is it really something that's very well known? You got to realize for yourself, for example, if Apple launches a currency, it doesn't matter what it does, it will most likely do well. And that's, again, a thing that I often think people look over, is just how well things can do purely because previous things did well, or because of the way they structure their marketing and whatnot. And I think these guys are doing a really good job, specifically with the audience that they have. It's a great gem potential, and I honestly expect you guys to at least take a look at it. If you don't enjoy it, and you don't think it's going to do well, please, by all means, ignore this part, don't buy into it. But I'm going to be doing that, and I hope it's going to do well, and if it doesn't, too bad, but at least we tried. At the end of the day, guys, I think $1,000, for example, is better invested into something that can really get a crazy pump on and get me, I don't know, $50,000 back, rather than me keeping the $1,000 in Anchor, getting 20% a year, and being $200, for example. Oh, yeah, it's not life-changing, you know? You sometimes got to take a little bit of risk with that type of stuff. That's exactly what we're doing. And that's why I share a couple of tokens every single month for you guys that I'm going to be trying out, and very often they do work out, and this is my next one on the list. So yeah, again, not financial advice, my thoughts only, but do with it as you please and do your own due diligence, do some research, and adios.